that goes. All right. So I was putzing around on the interwebs last night. Well, that looks normal. What the fuck? That's interesting. Don't you think that's interesting? Anyway, I'm putzing around on the interwebs last night, and I started thinking, like, where's Melania? I haven't seen much of Melania in this whole thing. You know, in this last whatever, last few months, last this, that, and the other. So I wanted to see what I could find, because there was the first Melania disappearance. You guys remember that? So the first time Melania disappeared, she supposedly went into the hospital for a routine cyst removal on her kidney. I think it was her kidney, right? And they said it was a simple procedure, outpatient, you know, get it done and you leave, you don't have to stay, not a big deal. And this was shortly after she appeared in public with the jacket on that says, "I don't really care to you." Belch. And that wasn't like a jacket that was made, like designed that way. I'd love to know the story behind it, because she clearly broke her programming, broke with what she was supposed to do, and got some paint and painted on the back of her own jacket. And really a huge cry for help, if you ask me. But she then disappears. And I noticed it maybe like 2 months in, or 3 weeks in, and I started putting out the original tweet, "Where's Melania?" And then the media started to take notice. And maybe it was like 2 months in where the media started, you know, asking where she was, only to be given this story that she'd been in the White House the whole time. Nobody saw her. She was at the White House. She was just playing hide and seek or some shit. I don't know. So then the first time she's seen in public in like 2-3 months is at a military shindig, where everybody there is military and sworn to allegiance and secrecy, basically. And the press, for some reason, isn't allowed to be there as well. And the only videos you can see are of Melania from a distance, and she's doing like that. That's all you see. There's no words spoken. She doesn't say a single word. And then another couple weeks goes by, and her next appearance is, you know, very carefully guarded and everything, but she actually speaks at that one. But she's always had like a robotic speech pattern. So it always seemed off. Let's start with the Melania Trump Wikipedia that cannot be edited, completely locked. Melania Knaus, or Knoss, I don't know, Knauss. Trump, born Melania, Melanijaknavs. So that's three different identities. Right off the bat, you notice that there are multiple identities associated with this character, which to me is always a red flag. Is born April 26th, 1970. Is a Slovenian and American former model who is married to U.S. President Donald Trump since 2025. Melania Trump has served as the First Lady of the United States, which, might I add, she is the absolute worst First Lady, like, ever. You know? When you compare her to Michelle Obama and shit, it's not even close. Michelle was doing all kinds of shit, involved in all kinds of stuff. Used that platform to elevate her voice, which, you know, can't hate somebody for that. But she did all kinds of programs, did all kinds of... What's up, Jack? Hey, if you had an Uncle Jack and your Uncle Jack was stuck on a roof, would you help your Uncle Jack off? A role she previously held from 2017 to 2021. She is the first naturalized citizen to become First Lady, the second foreign-born First Lady after Louisa Adams, the second Roman Catholic First Lady after Jacqueline Kennedy, and the second First Lady to hold the position for 2 non-consecutive terms after Frances Cleveland. Let's see. Melania Knavs, Knavs, which is weird again, was born in Yugoslavia. So is that Ukraine now? Or is that Obama and Michelle were the goats? They're just characters. You know, they're just characters we were given. Yeah, I don't... when you're the president of the United States, you like, it's crazy because I think Obama is the second worst president of all time, next to Trump, obviously. But I do it for different reasons. You know, something that never, ever, 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 ever gets talked about is the Monsanto Protection Act. What's up, man? Same old same. Literally, it's the same thing. I just changed my clothes. Sometimes. Explain why submarines aren't real. Go watch Submarines Aren't Real, part 1 through 9, if you really give a shit about submarines. If not, you know, if you're a normal person and you're capable of continuing the conversation being had instead of some arrogant, you know, entitled douche who thinks they can just come into a feed and be like, talk about this instead. And I get that a lot of people don't understand what titles mean, but you can clearly see that it's like the name of the show and then part whatever, right? So go check it out if you really want to know about submarines and why they aren't real. I've done a really, really in-depth deep dive into it, and what I believe is debunked it, is proven my case, but doesn't really matter. Was born in Yugoslavia, where she began working as a fashion model at age 16, which is just strange. Like, there's no 16-year-olds that are, should be considered adult models and treated as adults in that regard. Like it's always just so weird. Oh, here we go. Schizophrenia. We have our Israeli Team Jorge bots here. Act IL bots here. Speaking from their provided talking points. Who cares? She changed the spelling of her name to Melania Knaus, Knauss. For what reason? Why would you change it? Like, maybe I get like the dropping the J because you're in the States and that's hard for people to say. But what's the difference between Knavs and Knauss? And traveled to Paris and Milan to seek modeling work before meeting Paolo Zampoli. Zampoli hired her and sponsored her immigration to the United States in 1996. Get out. Let's go. Get out. Move. Dumbass dogs. If you're thinking about this at 10 a.m., you're crazy. Wow, you guys are just crazy. It's Mike Rosenthal. Well, what do you expect from a Rosenthal? This guy thinks that thinking is hard work, which, he's a dumb J. They're very stupid people. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the example, but did anybody think some dumb J was going to come in here and say anything intelligent? No. These are pedophile, genocidal pieces of shit. Nothing they say matters. All right, let's see. She began, so she was working in a model in Manhattan where Zampoli introduced her to Donald Trump. Although that's not the truth. The truth is that Trump had first eyed her at some bullshit when she was like 16. He saw her at some fashion show or some shit like that. That was what I read at one point. I don't know where I read it, so. Why won't Trump release the Epstein files? Well, one reason is because it drags out the distraction. And instead of talking about the genocide that these crazy psychopaths are doing, we're talking about a wing of it, an arm of the genocide in Epstein, who was an Israeli Special Forces operative. But we're not actually talking about the genocide. So it has its purpose. It serves its purpose. The whole Epstein thing is one of these things where, like, I could go all day and ask people to make your best arguments as to why, we shouldn't be looking into this, we shouldn't care, there's nothing to see here, Trump's innocent, blah, blah. I could go all day and nobody would actually say any reasonable thing. This has to be the most obvious. Morning, Matt. The most obvious, like, just conspiracy ever presented to us. It's like it's a joke almost, It's like they're daring us to see it for what it is, and I can't understand, I don't understand why Trump has a single supporter left. Other than, that selfishness that's been bred into us. We've been bred to be so selfish that as long as it's not happening to us, we don't care. As soon as it happens to us, we want everybody else to care. But when it's not happening directly to us, we don't really care. And since Trump represents racism, Trump represents sexism, homophobia, all these things that so many of your average white dude secretly believes, I think they have a hard time letting it go because he's the only, only president in modern history to be so openly sexist, racist, homophobic. He's it's insane how obvious it all is. Well, a conspiracy, see, that's where most people are just, you can tell you've been manipulated right off the bat, because a conspiracy is not something that isn't real. The definition of conspiracy is two or more people working together to affect the outcome of a situation. So everything you believe and see and think you understand, it's all conspiracy. You just have to figure out which conspiracy you subscribe to. Which conspiracy has said the right things to make you go, okay, I'll put my energy into that one. So it's absolutely a conspiracy. Is it a conspiracy theory? No. It's just wild. Anyway, introduced her to Donald Trump in 1998. She began dating Donald Trump shortly thereafter. So she is, what did it say? She was born in 70? Yeah, she was born in 70. So she is 28 years old. Wow. That's pretty old, considering. But at the same time, a 28-year-old man or a 28-year-old woman, supermodel, for a 28-year-old supermodel to be attracted to this guy, like, can anybody show me a clip of Donald Trump where he would be considered attractive? Show me an image. Show me him saying something, doing something. Like, I get being rich. He's rich and powerful and you want to be rich and all that. I get that. But, I mean, if you're a reasonably famous supermodel, then you're going to have your own money and shit. Nothing secret about this. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, do I have to stop? Oh, do I have to stop? I mean, it's weird because why don't you say what you mean? I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm anti-J. I'm anti-cult. And I'm proud to be anti-cult, anti-J. J-ish. I'm extremely proud of my perspective on that. And that's what you try, that's what you're saying without saying it. Nobody thinks I oppose the Palestinians. Nobody thinks I'm opposed to Iran and Egypt and all these other Semitic places, these Semitic peoples. Be proud in your accusation. Stop being anti-J is what you should be saying. But, you're A, not smart enough, and B, you don't have the balls. So it's just more obvious, interference, more obvious Team Jorge, Act IL kind of shit. Because again, if you represent that side, if you're J-ish, you're fucking stupid. They're stupid people. Everybody's been tricked into believing that somehow, because they control so much, they must be so much more intelligent than we are. But they're absolutely not. Show me a video where you can see like one of, a settler especially, saying things that make sense. Show me a video of any sort of Israeli representative explaining their point of view in a sensical, you know, reasonable manner, who then answers questions given to them. Show me. I'd love to see it. But you know, the stupidity that just fucking they exude is just insane. It's hard to ignore it, and it's obvious, right? It's great rage bait for you because you're YOUR schizophrenic. Yeah, it sounds like it sounds like I'm raging, and two, it sounds like I'm talking to the voices in my head, and you know, all of the other schizophrenic traits. I mean, this is act I. So here, let's just prove the point real quick. So act.il was a social networking service used by supporters of Israel to oppose online anti-Israel content, such as the Boycott, Divestments, and Sanctions Movement, BDS. Its activities were referred to as an online propaganda campaign and a virtual situation room for pro-Israel experts. Act.il directed its users to missions to like, comment on missions, and share pro-Israel material on social media. It also asked users to flag, report, and respond to criticisms of Israel. Users were guided how to respond, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points. So instead of being smart enough to be able to engage in a conversation and then pick something apart or anything like that, they're given the talking points. Say the anti-Semitic thing, say the schizophrenic thing, you know, say these talking points that they were given, because again, they can't be trusted. Okay, we know you're smart enough to be able to handle this. Go in there and handle it. You know, go make this guy look bad. He can't even get his yours right. YOUR schizophrenic. Like this is the intelligence level. I'm literally talking about how stupid these people are. Their lack of intelligence. And because they're so stupid, he comes out and makes a comment exactly proving it. Can't even get his yours right. That is embarrassingly stupid. The app also provided users with ready-made memes promoting Israel's perspective for them to share. By completing missions, users earned points, unlocked badges, and had their scores displayed on leaderboards. Basically, they got prizes and shit. They earned points and got prizes for doing this exact thing. And you know, if I'm wrong, then it should be easy to prove I'm wrong, right? It should be easy. This should all be easy. Again, it's hilarious for me to point out what pieces of shit you people are on the feed where that's what I'm doing anyway. Oh yeah, ha 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 ha. Like this is, you know, it's like I forgot to mention what pieces of shit you guys are. So thank you for the reminder. Like I can't imagine why anybody would think. I can, because you're stupid. That's all I can. That's all I can do. But they're quick to prove it. Their arrogance, you know, their insane egos. You know, they like, just go look. I'm telling you, go look at any video you can find with a settler in it. Go look up any video you can find somebody defending Israel and see how insane they sound. You tell me if it seems like they're making reasonable points or not. Because from what I've experienced, what I've seen, they are the stupidest people on earth. It's the most embarrassing aspect of it all. Like, how does such a stupid population control so much? But it's because of their ruthlessness. You know, it's because of their belief structure has tied them together, has bonded them so strongly. Whereas we'll hate each other over skin color, over sexual identity, sexual preference, you know, the racial preference or lack thereof. You know, we hate each other over every little thing. You're a Republican? You're a Democrat? Sky daddies and shit. We've been tricked into hating each other for all kinds of things. And they don't do that. They're a well-oiled machine in that regard. But they're also, because of that exact thing, they are the result of generations of inbreeding. You know, these are the most inbred. I mean, just look at them. They're so the physical toll that inbreeding takes is everywhere you look. You know, they're short. They can't see. They need glasses. They got no hair. They have no hair. You know, like they're just these ugly little trolls, faces all misshapen and shit. They're just nasty. They're nasty. But they're the ones that are willing to starve children. Like most of us, if we were in a beef with our neighbor, our worst neighbor, and they didn't happen to be home, but their kid was home and it was hot outside and they were locked out of the house or something like that, the vast majority of us wouldn't take it out on the kid. We'd offer the kid some water. We'd offer the kid the phone. Even though I don't like you or your dad, I'm not going to take it out on you. That's not how these Jays think, man. These Jays just kill them all. There are really endless videos out there where you have, whether it's an expert or it's just a regular old piece of shit civilian, talking about how they need to kill the children. They need to kill the Palestinian children, and they're justified in doing it. They'll tell you repeatedly that they are justified, not how, but that they are. They're not very good at the how part of things. You know, it's much more of a like, hear, repeat, you know. Hear it and then repeat it. Hear it, then repeat it. There's no like, you know, scholarly sort of delving into things and trying to get understanding. That's not how it works. And even though they might claim that they have these scholars, these religious, they only fucking read the one thing. You can't be much of a scholar if you only read one thing. But when you have you know, you have that mentality where you have, like, you can see a starving child and not give a shit. When you're the one causing the starvation and you don't care, then when you're given a technological advantage, a weaponry advantage, you're going to be the one to use it. You know, there have been multiple instances where Israel has been caught, you know, using weapons that have been outlawed, white phosphorus and shit like that. The children are human weapons in Palestine. See what I mean? Exactly. That person literally thought that that would be a good thing to say. This person just said the children are human weapons in Palestine. That's why they kill them. What? The children are human weapons, he says. He's justifying the killing of Palestinian children. And he's saying it's because they're human weapons. They're just kids. Unfucking real. But this is, I mean, like I say, I'm grateful. Like people might not believe me that they're stupid as shit. But when this person raises their hand to show you, like, look, no, we really are this stupid. I'll say the thing. You know, he thought that was going to be a good thing, a good a good point where I was, oh, well, yeah, that one's hard to, you know, that one's hard to get over. The children are, yeah, like he literally thought about it, typed it out, and then hit enter. That's how fucking stupid these people are. Nobody is going to read that or hear that and be like, oh, that's actually a really good point. But this is again, this is how stupid these Jays are. And so we should absolutely be embarrassed that we allow their domination like we do, because they're just such terrible trash. Gosh, that's weird. Melania's signature looks just like Donald's. Looks like the same person wrote it. Huh. That's not what it says. It says here that he was introduced when she was 26. Let's see. So she worked as a model in Manhattan, where Zampoli introduced her to Donald Trump in 1998. She began dating Trump shortly thereafter. And I said that when I read this. She's a 28-year-old model. Like, model around the world and picture, you know, like she's reasonably famous as far as models go. I'd love to see a clip. I'd love to see a video at any point of Trump looking attractive, coming across as attractive. Not just physically, but even his personality and his, you know, his presentation. Other than being rich, which so many people are, it's not like rich is this thing that is hard to come by, especially for a supermodel. So what was it that made this 28-year-old model, who clearly had her own, you know, her own successes at this point? She probably made decent money.
Because that's a lie. She was 15.
Oh, well, can't go with that right now. But what made the, how old was he in 96? Real quick, please. You know what? I can just do this. Donald Trump, born in 46. So by 98, he was 56 or 52 years old. 52 years old. So almost twice her age. And he looked like Donald Trump. And he had been married a couple of times beforehand, where, you know, unsuccessful, where he came out looking like a piece of shit afterward. And yet this supermodel finds him attractive enough to become to marry him, to have kids with him, or a kid with him. How does that even make sense? I'd love to hear the courtship. I'd love to hear that story. That picture of Donald, Melania, Ghislaine, or no, Epstein and then Ghislaine, they're standing at a party. Melania looks wasted. And Trump looks like he looks like a Cabbage Patch Kid, like a grown-up Cabbage Patch Kid. You know, like that real action, that live action movie. Which one? The live action movie, The Garbage Pail Kids. Trump looks like one of those kids. It's really crazy. Seething jealousy isn't a good look. The man is using advantages he's given at birth. Can spend your life yelling at the sky as if he's working hard. So no matter what I'm doing, you're watching it. And then you're crying about what I'm doing. So for me to take advice from someone like you who wants me to stop talking about these things, that's a pretty big ask. Yeah. as bad as I am for literally talking about the reality of it. Because, you know, you can get all PC you want, which is funny because usually it's the guys like that that are the most PC about the, you know, whenever you start talking about their boyfriend, they get all upset. But then they're the ones that are like, you know, I should have the freedom to be able to blah, blah. Like they think they should have all the freedoms in the world, but you're not supposed to critique what they believe. That's when the freedoms stop. But to say that, like, we shouldn't be asking the question, because sexual relations had to take place. And Melania could have had her pick of fucking just about anybody. She was hot back in the day. You know, so she has her pick of princes and CEOs and royalty and all this other shit from around the world. She's a supermodel. Instead, she picks this old, disgusting, Cabbage Patch looking guy. You know, she had to give him blowjobs and shit. Like you can try to discount things all you want, but there's a reality there that needs to be asked. I'd love to ask Melania, what made you fall for this piece of shit in the first place? Like, you knew he was gonna cheat on you, right? It's sort of what he does. But we shouldn't acknowledge that. And then, okay, so you take out the looks. Like I said, what about his personality has been attractive? Show me a clip where he's being someone that a female would find attractive. So we let's see, we're down here. Trump worked to get Melania more modeling jobs, and she supported him during his 2000 presidential campaign. I totally forgot about that. That he ran in the year 2000. Melania and Donald married in 2005, and they had a son, Barron Trump, the following year. So she was, 35, and he was, what did it say he was born in? He was 52 in 98. So he's what, 65 years old? 65 years old when he has Barron Trump? Yeah, that makes sense. That's fucking insane, man. Melania and Donald married. Melania started her own jewelry brand in 2009. So there you go. She's a driven person. She's a creative person. Plus, she already has the supermodel gig. She doesn't necessarily need Trump. I mean, granted, it's going to open more doors and shit for her, but she didn't desperately need it. After encouraging Donald to run for president in the 2016 presidential election, Melania only made rare campaign appearances, instead opting to help Donald with strategy. Oh, really? So now we're saying she's like a political strategist? Behind the scenes, she's a political strategist? Would any of you have guessed that? Clayton is against free speech. Well, Clayton is just he's one of the older trolls. Clayton's been here for a long time. Just desperately trying his best to bully me. But, you know, this is what these fucking, you know, these Team Jorge, these Act IL, these dumb settlers, this is what they do. They're not going to address the things being said. They're not going to address the conversation, the points made, anything like that. They're just going to keep begging for attention. For what reason? And literally, when you look at anything Israel, I mean, I was sitting there last night watching something with my kids. They were watching them, and I was watching the videos on my phone, and fuck, I can't remember what it was. I mean, it was just one of the things where somebody pointed out that Israel had done something, killed a bunch of people some way, that did something fucked up. And the pundit's response was, well, what about them over there? What about what about what they did? What about them over there? What about this? What about that? They never actually answer for why they do things. Anytime you bring something up, they try to, pawn the blame off on somebody. Well, what about them? They did something similar. And they also try to make it seem like what they've done here recently is comparable to anything else. It's not. There's not another modern day situation where you can be like, that's just like what Israel's been doing.
Yeah.
What's up, dude? So I bet you didn't know this, but after encouraging Donald to run for president in 2016, Melania only made rare campaign appearances, instead opting to help Donald with strategy. She's a political and campaign strategist, I guess. That's just silly. She received major press coverage during the campaign when erotic photos from her modeling years were uncovered and publicized, and again when a speech she gave at the 2016 Republican National Convention, was found to be plagiarized from a similar speech by Michelle Obama. I never heard about that one. That's hilarious. She's just so smart. I know she always comes across as really smart whenever you see her. Like, that's the one thing, when you see a Melania Trump thing, you're like, man, I bet Trump just loves listening to her talk all day. She must be a fucking genius. And so I mean, it really should disqualify you from president, right? If your wife has naked photos, if the First Lady of the United States has naked photos on the internet, that should probably not qualify you for the thing. And that has to be pretty difficult for anybody to deal with. Oh, here we go. The J people were promised that land by themselves and have the right to expunge anybody who lives on it and disrespects them, especially the Palestinians. I'm not a robot. I didn't think you were a robot. I thought you were ACT-IL from the beginning. You dumb fucking idiot. So again, where were they promised the land? Is it the Bible they don't believe? Interesting how the stupidity just flows from them. And they just have these same dumbass things. So other than this supposed promise from in the book that they provided, in the religion that they provided, especially for the people that don't believe in one of those two religions, because remember, Christians have been tricked into believing that a completely different religion is their God's favorite chosen people. Not them, not Christians. I did. Yeah, they don't want to ask that. They don't want to answer that part. Right? They don't want to answer for the fact that the argument that the land was promised to them. Like, it's such a stupid one. And it's not really, other than some vague biblical shit, it doesn't really fit. He's part of Melania's speech and pretended she wrote it. That's what it says. In the month leading up to the election, she defended her husband following the release of the Access Hollywood tape that mirrored his campaign and scandal. Melania stayed in Manhattan for the first months of her tenure as First Lady, allowing Barron to finish school there. and to renegotiate her prenuptial agreement. Well, that's weird. She kept to minimal activity after moving into the White House and held fewer events than previous first ladies. Melania faced several challenges in 2028, including allegations of extramarital affairs committed by her husband, surgery for kidney disease. Oh, it's kidney disease now. Because at the time it was a cyst. She was just getting a cyst removed. And a tour of Africa that was overshadowed by scrutiny of her wardrobe and personal conduct. Interesting how none of these things are like blue, so I can find out the narrative behind it. Melania patronized children's issues, launching the Be Best campaign to promote children's welfare and visiting many children's hospitals. What? Oh, she prioritized. Did I say minimized? Prioritized children's issues. Okay. Which, again, you would think then she shouldn't be married to that piece of shit. She was also a close advisor to her husband, influencing his decisions to end the Trump administration's family separation policy and to ban fruit-flavored electronic cigarette cartridges. She was an advisor? What? She's an advisor to Trump? How does that even make sense? I'm actually surprised we haven't had another Kennedy. I thought they were going to bring Joe Kennedy in and make him the president. Oh, I guess we have Bobby in right now, but the younger redhead one, Joe Kennedy, he spoke. There was one time where, I can't remember what it was. Maybe they like, it was when they cut from President Obama's speech about something to a thing where Trump was talking, something like that. And then Joe Kennedy was broadcast afterwards, and he seemed like the right fit. He seemed like the hope. What's the family separation policy? Trump administration family separation policy. The first separation policy under the first Trump administration, the family separation policy under the first Trump administration was a controversial immigration enforcement strategy implemented in the United States from 2017 to 18, aimed at deterring illegal immigration by separating migrant children from their parents or guardians. Oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that beautiful thing. In the final months of her first tenure as First Lady, Melania endorsed her husband's false claims of election fraud in the 2020 presidential election, which in itself is like a joke, right? Because when you look at the 2016 election, you clearly have Israeli influenced Team Jorge style election fraud. You know, Trump ran on the premise that he was going to, quote, drain the swamp when he got in office. And what the hell? Oh, he was going to drain the swamp when he got in office. And then he lost the election. 2,700,000 more people voted for Hillary than they did Trump. And he and the swamp, the AIPAC controlled swamp that he was talking about, is who put him in office. It's the third time in modern history where the people didn't get the right person, so the Electoral College had to step in. The first two were when both times George Bush Jr. won. It's unprecedented. It's not how it works. It's the only election in the world where the person that gets the most votes doesn't win. And so there's this clear election fraud. I mean, Hillary Clinton was set to make like, you know, she's going to live forever if she's the first president, female president of the United States. Like, this is, you know, now, 100 years from now, she might get brought up in passing conversations, or she'll get brought up as Bill's wife, the one that stuck around after. Did you guys know Lewinsky was Jewish? Did you guys know that? I didn't know that. Hang on a second. But she could have gone down in history forever. The most famous, one of the most famous women of all time. And instead of even fighting for it a little bit, calling out the obvious bullshit, she was just like, oh, okay, see ya. Trump didn't even have anything close to that. It wasn't like he won and then the Electoral College just stole it from him. He just didn't win, and he made a big deal. Why didn't Hillary make any sort of deal about it? Why did she just go on a speaking tour with her husband, hosted by Ben Stiller, where they went around to different college campuses and talked about how awesome they are? Monica Samuel Lewinsky, born July 23rd, 1973, is an American activist. Lewinsky became internationally known in the late 90s after U.S. President Bill Clinton admitted to having an affair with her during her days as a White House intern between 1995 and 1997. The most famous blowjob of all time. If you had that kind of power, if you could say to chicks, hey, blow me, you'll get famous. That'd be a pretty good line, don't you think? You think she's had some surgeries? All right, let's see. I read somewhere that she was, or I heard it the other day, so I want to see. Lewinsky was born in San Francisco, California. She grew up in an affluent family in Southern California in the West Side Brentwood area of Los Angeles, and later in Beverly Hills. Her father is Bernard Lewinsky, an oncologist who is the son of German Jews who immigrated from Germany in the 1920s. Huh? Were they part of the huge exodus, if you will, that brought them in droves between the late 1880s and the early 1920s, where like 3 million plus came to the United States? Nobody talks about that in the immigration crying. First moving to El Salvador, and then finally to the United States when he was 14. Her mother, born Marcia K. Vilinsky, is an author who uses the name Marcia Lewis. In 1996, she wrote a gossip biography, The Private Lives of Three Tenors. Wait a minute. Is 1993? 95 is when Lewinsky thing took off. So The Private Lives of Three Tenors is a gossip biography of the three tenors. Oh, Pavarotti, blah, 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 the first published. I was wondering if they were going to be that obvious about it like they were with Donald Barr, where she writes a novel about the exact thing and then it happens. Lewinsky's maternal grandfather, Samuel M. Volinsky, was a Lithuanian Jew, and her maternal grandmother, Borina Polshuk, was born in the British concession of Tunisia, China, to a Russian Jewish family. So they're acknowledging that her lineage is Jewish, but they just won't say it. Why? Because she's an embarrassment? Why isn't it come out and say she was born to a Jewish family like they always say? Were they not practicing? Is that what they're trying to say? Lewinsky's parents divorced in 1988 and each has remarried. The family attended the Sinai Temple in Los Angeles, and Lewinsky attended Sinai Akiba Academy, the school affiliated with the temple. Let's see. The Sinai Temple is a conservative synagogue located in Los Angeles. Is the oldest and largest conservative congregation in the greater Los Angeles area. So, I mean, there you go. Funny, too, how history begun in 1906. Gosh, isn't that weird? You know, so I said this yesterday. Hebrew, and I've said this many times, but Hebrew is the youngest language on the planet. It was invented in the late 1800s, early 1900s by a guy called Eliezer ben Yehuda. And he claimed that they had to, in order to supplement the deficiencies in the Hebrew language, they had to use Aramaic, and especially Arabic, to fill the holes. He's known as the guy, Eliezer ben Yehuda published the first Hebrew dictionary in modern time. Well, the first Hebrew dictionary. And Hebrew is essentially, if you were to take a mirror and put it up to Arabic and just draw the characters that way, you know, you'd basically have Hebrew. Modern day Hebrew. So my question is, Angela, you might be able to answer this.
Angela.
If Hebrew is one of the oldest languages in the world, and they've supposedly found all these Hebrew texts and all this other stuff, why would the language have to be revived in the early 1900s? And why would they have to use Arabic to supplement it? Are we to believe that although all these hundreds and thousands and millions of Hebrew texts have been found, not a dictionary was amongst them?
Nope.
I mean, it's so obvious that this cult came into existence somewhere in the late 1800s. And then just backdated and rewrote everything to make it seem like they're this ancient peoples. But they really aren't. They don't understand the electoral system. Yup, I don't. You're absolutely right. I do not understand how 99% of the time the people pick the right person, apparently, and who the popular vote picks is who becomes president. And the 3 times where it could be as controversial as it ever was, because it wouldn't have been as big a deal when it was Clinton, when Clinton won or whatever. But the 3 times when it did happen, the most controversial, dumbest presidents in history. Like between Trump and Bush, you have some really stupid ass characters being presented to us. And yet for some reason, in that election, 2.7 million more people voting for someone is overridden by the Electoral College because, well, we can't have California picking the president, then can we? Like, it's fucking stupid. And I guarantee anybody that wants to brag about, oh, you have no idea how the Electoral College works. You just sit here fucking propped up on yourself. You don't know how. You don't either. You can't explain to me why come they had to put Bush instead. They had to put Trump instead. And why that only happened those times, those really controversial times. Which coincidentally led to war. What's up, bud?
I found a caterpillar on my leg, and I think that was the poisonous one.
Okay. Yeah, that one is.
So what would have happened if it would have?
It's poisonous if you eat it.
Oh.
Oh,
I thought
they
if you
don't
touched
bite?
it.
Of course not. They're caterpillars.
I thought they killed stuff.
Yes, but they have a mouth that is just tiny and doesn't. It eats leaves.
So it wouldn't have killed me, so I could have let it crawl on me.
Yes.
Yeah, but that would have been
Yeah. It just felt weird. I was like, wait, what the heck? What's crawling on me? Ah. Yeah, I kind of freaked out. Sorry, little guy. Sorry, Buzzy.
The Sinai Temple begun in 1906, established the first conservative congregation in Southern California. Its founders saw it as a venue for the practice of traditional Judaism in an environment of assimilation. Like one of the key sort of like negatives as far as Judaism goes is the idea of assimilation. Of going into a place and you know the people are this way, so hey, let's work with the people, bring your traditions in, but you know, adapt. We're this way, so be this way with us. You can still do your thing, but we're this way. And instead of that being the case, like and they make it sound like it's some sort of like how dare you, but we're supposed to assimilate to them. Everybody's supposed to assimilate to them being there, because you're not supposed to convert. They don't want you to convert. But they want you to accommodate them in every facet possible. And when their shit infringes on somebody else's shit, oh fucking well. But of course, so we have Monica Lewinsky, who was more than likely an Israeli agent. Her family has associations with you know, Mossad and all that. I'm sure of it. So that's why it worked. Because I mean, the whole idea of the dress. So Lewinsky got a cum shot on her dress and didn't bother to wipe that shit off. I mean, Billy Boy got blown by a bunch of broads. That was the whole Hillary Clinton beard ruse. Like it's a different sort of beard. Right? They told Hillary a long time ago, listen, we know you're this feisty little lesbian who has all these political aspirations. But we need someone to play the role of this guy's wife. And it had to be someone like Hillary who, you know, wouldn't care if he's sleeping with other broads because she's not interested in him. Her little friend that goes with her everywhere, her lesbian friend that goes with her everywhere, who never got married, never had any relationship, and who was seen with Hillary holding hands walking around the college campuses at some point. Like if you look at Hillary, that's a lesbian woman. There's no doubt about it. She always has fit that you know, that perspective, that mold. And again, when you think about who's going to willingly go into this and play that role of the doting wife, even though they know their husband is fucking anything that walks, and then stick by him when he gets, you know, he gets caught getting a BJ from a hot little intern. Like it's all so obvious. And they promised her, look, if you play this role, we're gonna make you a high-ranking government official. All of your political aspirations will come true. Just play the role. And by the point where the presidency came around, she knew she was just a piece. She knew that she wasn't, you know, that the system worked on a much higher level than she was. And her job was to lose the election. They did everything they could to make her lose the election. They really did try to make her lose. It was interesting. If you remember.
But yeah, when I was in first grade, they asked us to do like a.
Yeah, I know.
They would rather.
I remember.
I bet they used those.
No, they didn't. She was playing a role the whole time. And she was supposed to do things, the hammering of the cell phones, on The elections were the Tuesday. So the Friday before the elections, all of a sudden the story of Danny Williams pops up. Danney Williams as Bill's illegitimate son. And they were going to do DNA results, and the results were to come out, you know, shortly after the election process. But like, not only did she stand by her man, she stood by her man knowing he had this half black child. Oh man, that's even worse. All the racist stuff gets stirred up and all that. Like, if there's anything that like, white people have accepted the fact that there's going to be black people mixed with them in society. The thing that they still can't get over, especially white men, is the idea of miscegenation. And halfies like me represent that miscegenation. They represent the black guy fucking the white girl with his big giant black penis, and she'll never get over it. Me and my little white penis will never be able to achieve those goals. And it's the thing they can't buy. It's the thing they can't punish, you know. It's just gonna be there forever. And it's the thing that they hate more than anything is the black guy doing what the white guy can't. And that's what I think the foundations of racism are based on. Because in reality, there's no reason for white people to be racist. None. They have every advantage. Other than, you know, sports and shit, but they have every advantage over black people. They should be very comfortable in their position. And instead they're bothered by something. What do you think that something is? And it's way more racist from the male perspective than the female perspective. And ask any female, right? Ask any female. What's the one thing that you don't want to admit to your white boyfriend, if it's true? And that's that you've had sex with a black guy before. Because he's going to instantly get insecure. He's going to instantly assume the black guy had a 2-foot dick and, you know, split you in half. And that's what you think about every time your eyes close and all that shit. And he can't buy his way out of that. He can't, you know, he can't succeed his way over that. It's the most fundamental and like
I had a egg growing. Zen required. What the?
It's on such a primal level. And it makes white guys so insecure. That's where all of it comes from. And especially because it's not true. First of all, it's not true all white guys have small dicks. And secondly, it's not true that all black guys have big dicks. But then there's the Jays. Then there's those inbreds. And they know they're not competing in that regard. And with all of their control and their chosen by God status, that's the last thing they want to deal with. That's the last thing that they can override and overcome. You're tainted now. You're disgusting now. You know, it's not it. They're just super insecure. But anyway, we were talking about Melania Trump and how the fuck she could ever fall for Donald Trump. That shit's crazy. All right, so to run for president, Melania, she was strategy, defended her husband from the access of Melania stayed in Manhattan for the first 10 years, or for the first few months of her tenure. After leaving the White House in 2021, she largely stayed out of public view before assuming the role as First Lady again. How? How is that possible? Everything that you could come up with for Melania, it just doesn't fit. Because she was gorgeous. Like, she was actually really hot. If you see those new pictures of her, she is smoking hot. So, and apparently she's like super smart. She's a political strategist, an election strategist. She's a jewelry maker. She's, you know, she's all these insane things. And really, at the time when she met, 99, Donald Trump wasn't even like, he was on the radar, but he wasn't, as far as powerful men go, you could have easily found a lot more powerful men than that. So, I don't, you know, her needing a green card, I know it's a joke, but I'm just saying. She needed nothing from nothing from him. You know, to think that she then has to give up sex with she has to have sex with this man that's almost twice her age for the rest of her life. I mean, you know, he's 52 years old when they meet. He's probably starting to get that old melon smell a bit, especially in his balls. And she was all about it, huh? All right, early life and education. Melania Knavs, Melania Knavs, Melanija was born April 26, 1970 in Novo Mesto, a city in the lower Carniola region of Slovenia, then part of the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. Her father, Viktor Knavs, first worked as a chauffeur. Eventually, he sold car parts for a state-owned vehicle manufacturer as he made connections with the League of Communists of Yugoslavia. Interesting. The League of Communists. Her mother, Melania Knavs, worked as a pattern maker at the children's clothing manufacturer Jutranka in Cervnica. In Cervnica, the family lived in a state-run housing complex. Melania has an older sister, Inez, and an older half-brother from her father's previous relationship, Denis Sigalenchek, whom she reportedly has never met. Her father denied paternity of Denis even after it was confirmed in a paternity test. Melania's father was a member of Yugoslavia's Communist Party, which espoused a policy of state atheism. That's interesting. That's interesting. I know what the nous, I didn't know it was rhymes with mouse, nous. I didn't know that, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Knavs. Knavs, that was her name. Knavs. I don't know. I don't know how the fuck you say it. Nevertheless, he, like many others, had his daughter secretly baptized as Roman Catholic. The family was well off relative to most who lived in communist societies. They frequently went on vacation to other parts of Europe. Their apartment was atypically decorated with brightly colored walls. From a young age, Melania expressed an interest in fashion. She began customizing and sewing her own clothes. She developed a skill for it by watching her mother work. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
Students were, or wait, no. The child, she is, and like as a child, Melania, like other children of workers at the factory, participated in fashion shows that featured children's clothing. That's a weird factory. I must have skipped something. I don't know why. Oh, there's apartments, vacations. I don't know how the hell I got to a different part, but okay. Textiles were Cervinka's primary industry. Students were excused from school to participate in shows. From a young age, Melania expressed an interest in fashion and began custom. Okay, I must have missed that first part. She developed a skill for it by watching her mother work. Melania did well in school, where she was appointed school treasurer. When Melania was a teenager, she moved to a two-story house in Cervnica, with her family. Sevnica, with her family. From her youth in Slovenia, Melania was influenced by the United States. She described the presidency of Ronald Reagan as the beginning of a new era in her own country. I'm sure. Also, the debut of CNN International in 1985 gave her family access to American media. Of particular interest to Melania was the new exposure to global fashion. At the age of 15, she began attending the secondary school for design and photography in LJUBLJANA. How you say that one? What sound does LJ make? Ljubljana? Ljubljana? I don't fucking know. Lasagna, there you go. Making the long commute from her hometown to the capital and back each day by train. After her first year, she and Ines moved to the capital together in an apartment paid for by their father. Well, that's nice. After graduating at 19, Melania enrolled in the Faculty of Architecture and Civil and Geodetic Engineering at the University of Ljubljana to further study, leaving after a few months without finishing her degree. Gotta somehow justify the she's super smart thing. Early modeling career. Melania was discovered by Slovenian fashion photographer Stane Jerko when she was 16 after modeling in a school-sponsored show. It's just so weird to think about that. Like, the factories, and I mean, I guess I would say before you have TV and commercials, but this was the 70s. At the time, she wanted to be a fashion designer rather than a model. Melania won a modeling contest with the Italian studio Sinezzi, I don't know, that entitled her to a movie role, but she rejected the prize after a producer sexually propositioned her. Makes you wonder if that modeling role was the Godfather. No, but The Godfather, it should be canceled. Quick sidebar here. The Godfather has this completely unnecessary scene that doesn't advance the movie. It actually takes away from the movie. Like, the movie, it could be argued that the movie would be better without the entire Italy trip. because all it is this, like this secondary story about a 30-year-old man playing a 26-year-old man who ends up having a relationship with a 14, 15-year-old girl who's playing a 16, 17-year-old girl. The whole premise behind it is just stupid. You know? She's a little girl when he sees her, and she goes and runs off. And then he goes and basically, like, sequesters her from her father. Hey, I think your little 16-year-old daughter is super hot. I'm a mafia boss who will end up getting her killed. Why don't you sign her over to me? We'll do one of these old Italian wedding things. You know, when I was watching that movie with my boys the first time, well, the only time, and I'd forgotten about that scene. Probably blocked it out. When that scene came on, my like 12 and 10-year-old boys, maybe even younger than that, who were obsessed with boobs and shit, were like, ew, what's wrong with her boobs? Because she was a little girl. And they actually say that that's like the first cut, only cut. That was real emotion, because she didn't really know she was going to be doing that. They sort of pulled her off to the side, and they were like, all right, we're going to do this scene, and no rehearsal. And you can see it in his eyes. Like, Al Pacino is all about, like, he has that wolf in his eyes. He's not acting there. And it also, you have to wonder, like, how much of that was left on the cutting room floor. They filmed this little girl. They're like, all right, all these men are in this room. Go ahead and strip down. And that's what she does. It's fucking gross. You can almost hear her parents like, hey, where's Simonetta? It's not like it led her to some fantastic career either. We wrote a song about it, Cancel the Godfather. You can get that at www.the-bilderberg-group.com, where it's free to download. All you got to do is put 0 in the payment box, and it will be free to you. You can give money like a lot of you have, and we really appreciate it. But you don't have to. All we ask is that you share it with someone. The link will be in the description, either when I'm done, if they let me, which they haven't been lately, or later once the video actually uploads from my perspective. Then I can go ahead and adjust the description, because it seems like if I put the links and stuff in the description beforehand, the video doesn't ever seem to go as well. Though I should retry that. It's been a while, so. Don't forget, if you're watching, to like, share, and sub, especially if you think that fucking scene in The Godfather is gross. And like I say, that whole section, yeah, he went and hid out in Italy for a year, a year and a half, whatever. We didn't see the part where he came home. Remember, he tells Kay he'd been home for like 6 months or something, 6 months or a year. Couldn't quite remember. So that whole part of the movie was cut out. But the part where he goes to Italy, falls in love with a teenager, she gets killed, that's a major part of the story. It doesn't even ever come up again. It's not like it affects anything. If it's supposed to symbolize him being cold, I guess, I don't know. But it's such an awkward, awful part of that movie that just... I mean, legally, she's 14 or 15 in that scene. I think she's 14.
She's like my age.
She,
Stay out of the conversation.
if I'm watching that as a 46-year-old man, if I'm watching a scene that has a 14-year-old girl topless, isn't that child exploitation materials? Like if I sent you pictures of a 14-year-old girl topless, that would be considered arrest-worthy material, as it should be. So why is The Godfather still so revered? It's really fucking crazy when you're not some sick pedo who just overlooks these things.
Well, it's like religion. They're just choosing not to like that.
Right. It's like, it's everything. That's what I always say. People only believe what they want to believe. People think the way they want to think. Every aspect of religion, every single thing you're taught about religion, there's literally no proof of it. You just have to believe something somebody said, and and it's something usually that in any other context you wouldn't believe it. You would say it's too fantastical, too unbelievable, too far-fetched. You wouldn't believe it. But when it comes to religion, you suspend your critical thinking and you just believe nonsense you normally would shy away from. Like all the reasons Christians hate Islam, the same reasons we hate Christianity. And well, we as in people who don't believe in that shit, not we as in Muslims. It's the same reason I hate Islam. It's all stupid. You know it's stupid. You call Islam stupid. You think Islam's beliefs are stupid.
Nick, I got a lucky heart this summer.
They're literally the same thing. Same fucking stories, just names are different, settings are a little different. But it's all the same bullshit, and it's literally linked at the top because the big three are considered the Abrahamic religions. Meaning they all come from Abraham. Oy vey, kasha vega. Except that Islam, he says accept, A-C-C-E-P-T. He doesn't even know which accept to use.
Nate, I got it.
But hey, I'm sure the point he's going to make is a smart one. Let's hear what he has to say. Accept that Islam is a plagiarized version of Christianity and Judaism. Funny thing is, every time they find a Quran, they find older and older versions of it. It's always the exact same. All the other narratives have different narratives that have been collected and rewritten and all that shit. The Quran is the same as it's always been. Not saying it's true, but if you were going to say, which one am I going to believe? The one that's been adjusted by king after king and power after power, or the one that's supposedly the same as it's always been? When tradition is what matters, I'm going to go with the one that's the same. But it's again, these dumbasses don't know their own belief structures. They don't know why they believe what they believe. They don't know these narratives. They just believe them. They don't know the history of Christianity. They don't know the history of Judaism. We literally just read about the Exodus, which is supposedly like essential to Judaism is the story of Exodus. And by all accounts, it's impossible, stupid nonsense. It's easily one of the worst stories in the Bible. And I thought that was, I thought we had hit the ceiling with Noah, with Job, with Lot, with Sodom and Gomorrah. But the idea that 2 million people wandered around the desert for 40 fucking years, unrivaled stupidity. To the point where the system that also tells you how important this is to Judaism and that kind of shit tells you that it just doesn't have any basis in reality. It's an impossibly stupid story. And it's really crazy when you realize like who the Jewish God is, the Yahweh, and what just a piece of shit he had to be. I mean, my God. Every time the people didn't, do exactly what he said, or someone didn't do exactly as he said, or didn't think exactly the same way, or whatever, he would just kill as many people as possible, bring about plagues and all this other shit. This was a motherfucker. Why anybody would choose to believe in such a piece of shit is beyond me. But at the same time, when you know that like what they believe in, and you compare it to who they are as people and how they treat everyone, it actually fits. I totally get it now. You guys are horrible, awful people, and you believe just the worst things in the world, which justifies your modern day approach, your modern day perception. You're just a horrible, horrible piece of shit. But nothing you do even compares to what your piece of shit God did. Yahweh is just a motherfucker, man. Let's reset since we're clearly being shut down pretty significantly today. 3 viewers, huh? Come back if you want to.